Hi, everybody. Welcome to the mid-season 3 Q&A for the First Watch. I'm Sheryl, mostly on Nature Check, but I'm here on the First Watch every once in a while, guesting and things. And tonight I'm going to be the moderator for the Q&A. So all these lovely people just get to do the A part while I do the Q part. Did you all want to remind everybody who you are?
I like that. Did you prepare that? That was really good.
No.
It was good. Yeah.
It was good. Very professional.
And now we don't know who's introducing first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do I have to tell you?
Let's popcorn it. We've done enough Zoom in this COVID time, right? I'll go first. My name is Benji, and I played Hyde Beast, Benji Perez Gonzalez, and I played Hyde Beast and Luna once in a while, and I love D&D. That's my Dungeons and Dragons sweater.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll popcorn it too, Melissa.
Is that how popcorn works? You throw it? Like, that's hot potato, isn't it?
No. Popcorn is you pick someone else.
I've never popcorned.
I've only done like preschool and elementary level things.
Welcome to the show.
I don't know what popcorning is, so I'll just, yeah.
Oh no. There were no rails.
These are grown-up Zoom terms. I don't understand these. I'm Melissa Coons. I play Sigia Thantwe. She's the Turtle Cleric. And for the beginning part of the adventure, if I can say this, she was separated from the rest of her group. So I don't know, have they been reunited yet, or is
not yet? Nope. Shush. Happening? No.
Okay.
It's not. It may happen. It may not happen. We don't know.
Will they ever see each other again? I don't know.
Spoilers during the
That's a really good point about spoilers, though. Okay, so this is like
true. What do people know right now?
This is coming after episode 4, so we've seen 2 episodes of Hyde and Gmorgan, 2 episodes of Siki, and I'm Andrew Coons, and I'm the dungeon master for the adventure. And tonight I'm not having to lead things, which makes me very happy.
Super smooth.
Vacation Andrew.
Vacation
Andrew.
I need a hat. I don't have a hat.
Oh God.
Do you have a Hawaiian shirt?
I do.
Straw hat. You do.
No,
actually.
we're not doing. Oh, we're doing a wardrobe thing. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
You just went for it, huh?
This feels completely usual.
BRB. You're doing great, Sheryl.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
Oh my God. Cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
It really goes with the medieval background.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh wow. A spring breaker in King Arthur's court. Okay, questions. I have them. You're gonna answer them. Starting with actually a question that's like sort of at the transition point between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3. Player characters, what went through your minds in the last moments of season 2 when you found out that you'd been transported and separated?
Yeah, that was kind of sudden. I had known for a while that Siki was going to take a step back from recording sessions, just kind of schedule changes and whatnot. But I didn't know that it would be like that drastic, like, oh, now you're somewhere totally different. So that was a little bit of like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. And yeah, I guess just kind of hoping that the rest of the party was okay and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, not understanding at first that there was a time jump. So I don't know if that's a spoiler, but
not at this point.
Is it?
Not if everybody's caught up like they should be.
They should be, yes.
That's true. Watch the show and then
Who watches the mid-season Q&A without watching the others?
I would hope nobody, but you know.
Yeah. For me, it was exciting, because I love the game, and what Andrew has been setting up for the past 2 seasons has been really exciting, and just going along for the ride has been really cool, and just going through everything and being a player, just living the magic is really cool. And then I don't know, I feel like it was a good end to season 2 because I didn't want it to end, and then all of a sudden we're in a brand new adventure. and we're in the middle of the ocean, you know, and it's like, whoa, and it's like right in the middle of a storm, you know, so like I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, just like jumping right into things was fun. Yeah.
Nice. And for Andrew as the DM, running that split, because like Benji just said, you know, being landed on the ship in the middle of the storm has one energy, and then Siki like coming downstairs from her room and meeting the innkeeper has a very different kind of energy. So what was it like for you to sort of like bounce back and forth between those two sides of the story?
Honestly, I think easier than you'd think because they were so drastically different, and it wasn't like they had split the party in town and I'm having to see what happens if they cross back and all that stuff. Like, it was very much like, this is tone A, this is tone B. You're not going to see each other for a little while. You know, obviously the sending spell can provide some communication, but there was, I don't know. I guess when I had the idea for it, I was like, oh, this is going to be tricky. And then in practice, it was pretty simple because I could really just focus on one part of the story at a time and not have to worry about, you know, interweaving them back again until, of course, potentially they interweave back again in the future.
You know what I thought was kind of cool, and I also hate it, but that's part of the game, you know? When we woke up and we had to make a roll to see if we remembered things, and I rolled high, and then I remembered things, and I was like, what would have happened if I rolled like a 2 or a 3 or a 1?
Yeah.
It
would have actually been, it was never going to be like you lost your memories. It was just going to be a matter of like how out of it, how groggy were you going to be for how long. So it's kind of more of a dramatic effect role than an actual like this could change things role. But yeah,
it's a cool fact.
Awesome. Well, so from here, there be true spoilers ahead, because my very first question, I have these questions laid out in the order that I watched the episode, so we'll sort of bounce back and forth, which is nice because that gives everybody a chance to talk. So boys, how worried were you that Gamorg was going to die in episode 1?
I mean, honestly, so this has come up throughout the seasons. Like, what happens if one of us dies? And I don't even know what would happen. So I'm not worried about that, even though I should be. But when he got swallowed by the snake, I was like, oh my God. And then he took like a ton of acid damage. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it worked out. And yeah, he did a ton of damage to get out, so it was all good. But I was worried for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, there have been several close scrapes, and I've made it very clear to everybody when we start every season that like, this is real Dungeons and Dragons. You're not guaranteed to live. I'm not giving you plot armor. So, you know, on the one hand, that's nice because it means that their victories are very much earned. But yeah, I was like, okay, it's really going to come down to one turn, whether or not Gamorg survives or not. And I'm sitting there with the statistics for the sea monster, looking at the damage amount it takes for it to regurgitate, well, to make the save to not regurgitate Gamorg back up, and I'm counting the points as he goes and being like, is he going to get there? Is he going to get there? Is he going to get there? Because I know the next turn around he's done for. And he just barely got there with the amount of damage from the inside. So, and it's a funny thing too, where had he been any other class of fighter, I don't think he would have survived. Because the samurai class has fighting spirit, which gives him advantage throughout the turn.
As a fellow DM, I guess I was thinking of like, oh, the implications for this being episode 1 of the new season, and you have this dramatic story with the party split. And so in the moment, like when he got swallowed and was taking all that acid damage, were you already thinking about like, how do I salvage this if Gamorg goes down? Or were you just sort of gonna let it happen and then figure it out later?
No, I was definitely thinking about what would happen if he went down. And honestly, some of it was me going, we started the show with just Hide and Seeky, and there would be some poeticness to ending the show with Hide and Seeky, and Gamorg just kind of comes in and out. So there wasn't like another person waiting in the wings. I don't think I would have, I mean, I guess I would have had to have talked to Joe about it, but the plan wasn't for him to like roll a new character or anything. So yeah, it would have been pretty hardcore.
That would have been traumatic.
Yeah. It would have been a real smashing start to the season.
Indeed.
Also, his success was smashing. So either way, you got the drama. Flipping to episode 2, Melissa, what was it like to finally have your own turn at the inn? I know that you've been doing audio editing for the inn episodes. So what was it like for you to finally get to talk to, and we learned his name, Henry.
We did. We finally learned his name. Yeah. It was really fun. I did not know that she would end up at the inn. So that was kind of a fun, like, getting to finally talk to the innkeeper. Just kind of a metagaming thing for me, at least. But yeah, it was a really nice change of pace for Siki. And yeah, it was a really nice, I'm trying to remember did the gem thing happen in episode 2?
Yeah,
for
your second episode.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not episode 2.
No.
Okay, so I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, it was really nice to kind of end up at the inn and just kind of explore a little town. And at the base of Siki, she's just very chill. She's very, she likes the quiet life. So it was nice to kind of take a step back and like recenter before, joining the boys and in their big battle to come.
Nice. I mean, obviously she wasn't alone because she was at the inn with the innkeeper and all of the other people in the town and stuff. But like, as far as I know about Siki's history, she was with her family and then she had a mentor or two along the way and then she teamed up with Hyde. So like, had there ever been a moment before getting transported to the inn where Siki was really like alone like that?
No, probably not. Yeah, come to think of it, she would always have had somebody with her. And then, yeah, basically once she met Hyde and Luna, that was kind of like, okay, we're a team now, we're all partners. And, and then meeting Gamorg and all that. So yeah, this probably would have been her first kind of solo trip, I guess.
It's a lighter question. Benji, what's Hyde's best sea serpent recipe? Because you made a quip about that.
Yep. I was really bummed out we didn't get to role play pulling the sea serpent into the boat and cooking it. But I feel like he would do some sort of like seawater, salty, kind of savory snake. A little bit of saffron,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There you go.
Like a chowder.
I'm sure they have that on the boat. On the
saffron.
ship.
Yeah, people just carry that around with them.
For sure. Fonkin the cook absolutely has all that.
Another question for Benji, because I've been waiting for this for a while. I wonder if other viewers were too. What made you decide to finally put on the ring? And follow up, what was your first reaction internally when you heard Meccan's voice?
Oh my God. I've been thinking about it since the end of season 2. And I had a tingling sensation that it was Meccan when I put it on, just because Andrew's voice was in the same range. And I was like, oh, that could possibly be it. And honestly, like, I'm pretty sure Joe is in the same boat, but I kind of felt bad for killing him because we didn't ask any questions. We just barged in and we started fighting. That was on me. I remember saying that line, like,
you specifically said, don't let the bad guys monologue, and then you shot him in the face. So yes. Classic.
Like, as a player, I don't regret it, but Hyde regrets it, So speaking to him was very, I don't know if cathartic is the right word, but I felt good that I got to like say apologize,
Question from an audience member, a thirsty audience member. Andrew, inspiration for the ship captain?
Yes, I've been told that this is the hottest character that we have introduced on the show to date, the hottest NPC at least. So Captain Kendall Van Deer, the ship's captain. I don't know where the inspiration came from so much as I just like wanted to make a really badass ship captain, and like it's a little on the nose, but I liked the irony of her being a fire genasi at sea. And then when I was developing the character in near the end of season 2 was right around the time that there was a lot of discourse in the TTRPG community around the combat wheelchair and accessibility in games and representation in games. And I know Critical Role had put it into their game and whatnot. And I wanted to follow suit and introduce a character who was first and foremost a badass and happened to be a wheelchair user. And we did have a really great session with Jennifer Kretschmer to do some consulting on how to build a good representation there with that character. But yeah, I mean, like, first and foremost, always, she's a badass ship captain. And it was really cool to work with Jennifer and find ways that that her disability would have impacted the ship and the different mechanisms that are on the ship and the way the chair works and everything, which I think all of those things kind of add to her being this fully fleshed out character who the ship itself is like an extension of her, which is super cool. And then, I mean, you're going to have a Fire Genasi captain. She's got to be hot. So that's, I will not apologize. Like, it's just what it is.
Might as well.
No, I like what you said about the combat wheelchair and incorporating it into the game. I definitely thought it was interesting. I liked seeing people put combat wheelchair users in like interesting environments that I guess people wouldn't like normally picture. And the ship was a really great example. I loved what you said about the ship being like an extension of her and her chair. The image of her getting pulled by these mechanisms up to the crow's nest just like blew my mind. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's
a really awesome character.
That's all Jen Kretschmer for helping me kind of develop some of those things and think about things differently, and just kind of like look for both the magical and the practical side to that integration, because there are magical elements to the combat wheelchair and you could just kind of wave your hand and go, oh, magic makes it all work, and yet is that how anything else in the world works? No, there's usually combinations in these fantasy worlds of magic and technology, so we try to do that here as well.
And honestly, as a player, that's kind of what brought it all together. It's just the fact that everything was built with that in mind, and she's a captain, it's her ship, so it would make sense that everything is just like perfect and she's super comfortable and confident, and it was really cool.
Let's see what I've got here in the list. Melissa, the choice for Siki to not know about house cats, loved. Was that like a spur of the moment thing, or had you decided that a while ago?
No, it was a spur of the moment, and I was kind of like, I mean, she didn't really grow up around cities or around domesticated type things, like she's used to wild animals, and the only cat that she's known is a tabaxi, so it's got to be a tabaxi. And kind of still a little low-key disappointed that the cat didn't talk back to her, but I don't know, maybe the cat does talk.
That's
trying to push Andrew to like,
the deep
maybe
Mr.
the
Boots
cat's
lore.
magical.
And the secret, I mean, it is a cat. It can talk. It just chooses not to.
There you go.
That also very well could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
All cats are jerks.
I mean, that's what makes it a cat.
Including Hyde. He shot Mekin in the face.
Well, I feel like Gamorreek takes the brunt of the blame, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. I do actually want to circle back to the Mekin ring thing real quick, because it was super fun for me for him to finally put that on. And they had gathered that ring, I think, at the end of season 1. It's certainly the first episode of season 2. And all season 2, I'm sitting there waiting for them to decide to put on that ring. And whether it was because they just forgot or chose not to, it wasn't until very near the end that someone finally tried to slip it on, heard a gasp, and then didn't touch it. Which, again, as a DM, I'm going, listen to Mekin, he's got information for you, he can help you. But they're very wary of a powerful magic item. So my intention was always for Siki to be the one to talk to Mekan first. That's where I was like, that's what's going to happen. It's going to make sense. She's got this friend connection with him. So for it to end up in Hyde's possession when they got split, and for Hyde to be the one to talk to Mekan first was really, really interesting, and definitely provided a completely different dynamic for that conversation than I think I had originally planned months before when we were mid-season 2. But that's D&D. I love it. The character choices change the story. It's super fun.
Let's see. Gesundheit.
That is my dad in the background. Bless you, Dad.
We'll give him a credit in the credits at the end here.
Please do.
Okay. So Benji, the main action besides the sea monster fight was y'all heading down in under the water to try to do things with Temple. I don't know if fix is a good word. Do things with Temple.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the timer and the fact that it was like real world time for you to like make decisions and solve problems?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really cool. A dynamic that I've never done before as a player. So that was really good, especially in the last moments of the episode where I knew we had like a minute or two. And that's without counting the 8 minutes that it takes to go up. So I was like, we're already like screwed, you know? But like, and there's also the element at the very end that the doors were closing, and it definitely put like added more intensity to an already intense episode. But it was definitely like a cool dynamic, and there were things that it wasn't as easy as just like getting in, finding the thing that we're supposed to find and solving that puzzle. Like it was different puzzles along the way. So we were kind of, it was an intense episode. And then add to that, the fact that like Hyde, and this is also like me, was like scared of the ocean, you know, like infinite darkness, and just adding that in there and that element. It was cool. It was intense. I was nervous playing it. My hands were sweating. So I think you can count that as a good thing, you know, as a player, and for the viewers. I thought it was cool.
Nice. Yeah, and you brought up the fear of going in the water thing that you and Hyde share. So Hyde was really, really reluctant. How much of him finally going in the water was like player decision to be a team player versus like him being like, no, I've got a job to do?
I feel like it was 97% like, if I don't go in the water, I'm just gonna stay in the ship for the whole episode and I'm not gonna do anything. so Hyde has to do it. And then 3% is like, he's a noble guy, you know, he's a courageous person. He will probably do it. But yeah, he did not.
There was a moment where I was like, is Benji choosing to not go? Like, okay,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's going to be Gamorg. It's going to be interesting.
Cut back to me playing cards with the cook, you know?
Yep. Wasting some of the time. Every time we cut back to you, and Joe's just like, no.
Yeah, but it was a hard decision. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like I had to be a team player, and it was good. I mean, I don't think a lot of those puzzles could have been, well, actually, no, never mind. Joe could have definitely, Gamorg and company would have solved.
I mean,
those.
He was having a hard time with those strength checks to get up out of the vortex. God, he was. So,
and it's funny,
you all wasted a lot of time early, like way more than I expected, but that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was rolling really well, and he was rolling really poorly.
The roles in that episode were wild. But Andrew, that's actually dovetails nicely with what I was going to ask you about the timer. How did you feel about the 45-minute timer when you planned it versus when you were running it? Because it definitely, I mean, as a DM, you can never plan for everything. So
right.
Like,
no, I mean, again, like, it's kind of a luck of the draw thing, but I felt great about it. Like, it timed out really well. Like, my early traps wasted their time the way I was hoping they would. And, you know, it put them in a pressure cooker situation right at the end, which is what I was hoping for. it was interesting. I remember having a conversation with them before we even started recording where I was like, I don't want to spoil what's about to happen, but I need you all to know I'm about to introduce a mechanic we've never tried before, and I need you to trust me. And got their buy-in there because I didn't want to spoil the timer element. I wanted that live like reaction, but I also knew that this was like, especially for, I think I can speak for him in this. Joe is very much the rules say this, so I should be able to do this, and you should, you know, and he's that type of player, and that's great. Keeps me on my toes, but I didn't want to spring something brand new on him without at least a little heads up. But no, it worked out really well. It ended up putting them in a pressure cooker at the very end, which is, I mean, narratively, you can't ask for anything better.
Yeah, the ending was woo. And I guess another question for both of you, although maybe Hyde has more feelings on it. The NPC who died because the timer ran out. How did you feel about that?
Well, I was also dead at that point, so it's not like I thought a lot about it.
Not your fault.
Yeah, I mean, I was narratively, I was trying to help him up, you know, and after that, anytime an NPC dies, is kind of like, and you're dedicated to the game or whatever, it's kind of takes a toll on you a little bit. But it was tough, you know, and especially like knowing that I didn't want to go in and that we just screwed it all up. You know, we went in trying to do something good and we ended up making it worse. And then someone died because of it. It was like, oh man, this just sucks. I hate it. But that's part of the game. You know, there's happy times and there's sad times, and that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, I had a little bit more of a connection to that NPC because that was an NPC that was gifted to me by Star Shinobi on Twitter. She had a thread where she was like, you know, give me a random scenario and I'll build an NPC for you. And I was like, I need a first mate. And so she built out Harkin. I made a couple little tweaks to him to make him fit the story better. But it was fun to put that into the show and then to have him be the one that got killed off. I was like, oh no, Harkin. I was really, from a narrative standpoint, not a sadistic standpoint, hopefully, but I was glad for the opportunity for there to be someone fairly important on that ship who lost their life. Everybody who lost their lives on that ship was important, but being the first mate, it gave Kindle someone to mourn more directly, and gave a moment for, you know, this badass ship captain to be vulnerable in the kind of mourning of him, which I thought was another really nice like story touch for, you know, this ship captain NPC, which, you know, long term doesn't, you know, stick around too long, but you know, gets to be fleshed out. So
I think it was also a nice connection point for the audience because Harkin was one of the NPCs that we heard the most from on the ship, and so for him to be the one of the two that went down who didn't come back up again, as it were.
I feel like if Pac the Goblin had gotten killed off, there would have been a riot. I don't know that wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
well.
we would have been upset.
She survives.
There you go. Spin-off? Pack spin-off anyone?
Yes, please. Melissa, the whole mysterious "please come out into the woods with me" Sikia thing. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, that was a little surprising. Yeah, is this in reference to the gem,
the elf
thing, or
like the elf leading you out?
Yeah, I was not entirely sure because I think like in storyline, like the day before she had survived an assassination attempt, so I was like, is Siki just following her, going to her doom? Like, I don't think Andrew would do this. It was a little odd, but yeah, it turned out pretty good.
And
so,
you discovered that your longtime mentor is one of the leaders of the Observant. Were you and or Sikia expecting to see him again?
No, I was not. We had a conversation before the season started about like, okay, you know, Andrew was like, let's sit down, let's talk about the backstory. And I had kind of been pulling little pieces kind of here and there just as I played the character. I kind of prefer to do that when I make characters. I like have one idea Like my current character, I'm like, I want a little mouse that steals things. And like I have no other backstory, none whatsoever. But then like as you play the character, you're like, oh, they made this choice. So I think that means that their personality is like this. Maybe that means something happened to them in their past, type of thing. So I kind of built out a lot of her backstory. So it was kind of fun to have her mentor show up again. And yeah, that was a fun little nod back.
Yeah.
Kind of call back to the Evocations episode, because Onan features heavily in Siki's backstory one shot. So it was fun to bring him back and kind of bring some of that full circle. Because I did the same thing with Cricket and Gamorg, because he appeared there. So it was nice to give those Evocation one shots, which were super fun to make, but like give them a little more weight in the current story as well.
For sure. And Melissa already sort of hinted at it, but speaking of Siki's backstory, let's talk about that transformation and the gem being lost.
Yeah, that was very surprising. I was not expecting that to happen. We had talked for a long time about, because, when I had done the original design, I was like, okay, a turtle cleric, and, her focus is like this really big gem in her forehead. And Andrew's like, okay, a little weird, but that's your choice. And so that kind of just became like her thing. She's got her gem in her forehead, and it's kind of tied and connected to her faith and all that kind of stuff. And so it was very just kind of unnerving for her to find out, like, oh, it's gone. Like, where is it? And just trying to figure out what happened to it and what that meant for her character. That was a really fun. That was a fun episode to explore that in.
And the transformation turned out beautiful, and I'm very excited to see what Sikia can do now that her power has been unleashed or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was because we had conversations around Siki going through a journey with going to the end. Like, once I had kind of given the reveal that she's at the end of Edge of Greenwood, I was like, there's not necessarily as much like to do in this moment for you. You're not the one headed to the next tower to stop it. So what is there for you to do? And we both wanted it to be a story of personal discovery and personal empowerment. But those high level things are all that we talked about. All the how and why and when of that was able to come out in game. And I was also like super like nervous that it was going to come across too much as like a chosen one arc, which was not the idea. And that's where I mean, selfishly, I very much like the line that I was able to have Onan say in that title of that episode of Fate is a Choice. And, this was something that truly Melissa could have chosen to do or not to. And, that, you could certainly metagame and say, well, it was the smart decision, it grants her more power, all that stuff, but like it was a choice, and like there's an element of like, and now that you've made that choice, it's yours. And so it's not something that's thrust upon you. It's not something that you're born with and can't have. It was a choice to take that path, which I think is maybe not so subliminally an important message in my mind.
I think it was also really beautiful, though, because just as it wasn't thrust on her, she needed someone else's assistance to sort of like have it be realized. And so there's this neat like communal aspect to this awakened power that she has now that I thought was really beautiful.
For sure. The character of Takal, the other elf, you could call them Rune Child, potentially. That term's been thrown around in a few different games out there, but yeah, she didn't have any words to say, but she definitely, I think, had a very important part in my mind of, you're not the only one. You're stepping into this, but you're stepping into this and you have some community, you have someone to relate to, which is an important aspect. And I don't know that a lot of chosen one arcs have that. Usually it's you're the only one, you're the solo. Which is its own thing, but not what we were going for.
And so even though the party has been separate, none of them have been truly alone during these first 4 episodes, which has been really interesting to see them interact more with NPCs than each other for a while.
And more than we've
All right,
had
so-
since season 1, because season 2 was almost completely in
Yeah.
isolation, trekking through the wasteland. So I got off easy in season 2. I didn't have a whole lot of NPC work to do, but I had to stretch my muscles a little bit for season 3 because there was a lot of folks to meet.
Yeah, I really liked it though. So when I'm doing any kind of interview, I like to tack on at the end, what haven't I asked you that you wanted to talk about? Anybody, everybody.
There's so
Andrew,
much
we know
coming
you got
up
stuff.
soon. Yeah, there's so much coming up soon. Episodes 5, 6, 7 are, the knobs get dialed up to 11 for sure. And I think it's a fun moment to pause here in the middle, and in the same way that the characters have a bit of a breath before diving into the next thing, for us to answer some questions and know what is coming, but also like celebrate some of the journey that the characters have already gone through. I think my favorite part so far has been kind of on the flip side of having more NPCs to interact with has been seeing the way that Hyde, Gamorg, and Siki have and Melissa and Benji and Joe have been fleshing out those characters even further, here in season 3, and still leaning into learning new things about each other and about themselves. And for me as a DM, it stayed very, very fresh all the way through, which is super great.
Last thoughts from either of the players?
I don't know if I have any more questions that I wish you would add, but it's been a really fun game, a really fun 3 seasons, and a really good storyline, and I've enjoyed playing it a lot and building friendships with, Melissa and Joe and Andrew and I were friends, but just getting to build those friendships with the characters too. And season 1, I was like, Siki was like my best friend, and then season 2, we're all really good pals. And then season 3, I'm like buddy with Gamorg, so it's been fun to explore those outlets. And I'm just enjoying it a lot. And I hope that the viewers are enjoying it too, because we're having fun making it. So.
Yeah, kind of to jump off that, it's Andrew's world, he builds it, but like we just have so much fun playing in it, and it's really fun to interact with the NPCs and to interact with other players and everything, and just kind of building the world and building our characters at the same time. It's really fun to play it.
Yeah, that friendship aspect I think has been really cool, because it wasn't something that we had in our minds as oh, this is a theme we want to explore in this game. But it is a theme that has come out, different types of friendship and different levels, and what do you do for friendship, the way you look out for each other and sacrifice for each other. And more of that to come for sure. But it's been, there is an element of the Dungeons and Dragons or TTRPG genre or toolkit for telling stories that I think lends itself very much to, people of all walks of life and different viewpoints and backgrounds coming together and finding common ground. And you do that as players, and your characters do that. And that's been, a really cool thing to watch, is like Benji said, the Hyde Siki friendship, the Gamorg Hyde friendship and whatnot. It's been cool.
Well, yeah, from the audience perspective, I have to say, y'all have been telling an incredible story, and the first 2 seasons were awesome, and the first 4 episodes of this season have been awesome. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this little Q&A peek behind the curtain, and we can't wait for the next few episodes to come out. So stay tuned.
It all goes downhill from here. It's just the worst. It's
the
worst show you've ever seen for the last 3 episodes.
Stop here. We'll
just stop here. Yep.
But seriously, stick around for the rest of the episodes of season 3, and stick around for what comes next, because that's also going to be super cool.
Lots of stuff coming soon. Yep.
Yeah,
look at those eyes.
Yep. The story does not end with Planebreak. It will continue.
Nope.
So.
Yeah.